I am now live on Instagram for a watch along of the National Theatre Live production of Coriolanus. And I am going to start by inviting Erin Murphy, who was the stage manager of the production, just to come in and instruct the test. Aha!
Hi!
Look at you. Okay, so we need to immediately talk about those houseplants. Oh my God, someone's donated £4. This is amazing.
That's
Thank
pretty
you
good.
very much, Amanda. That's so good. I'm going to say that's because your houseplants are such quality.
They're pretty good, aren't they? I'm really proud. I mean, I've had plenty of time to look after them, so that's been good.
Yeah, and your hair's looking good. Good lockdown hair.
I did do a little bit of tonguing. Don't look at the back. They're fun.
Okay, I won't look at the back. I basically got a mullet. Look.
I love it.
Yeah, I've learned how to cut the front. So I was in the middle when we were just on the phone of worrying about why I can't find YouTube on my smart television when I could yesterday. So I've clearly done something really bad. So I think what I'm going to do while I'm on with you is set it up on my laptop. So I've got it. So Erin,
Yeah.
you were the stage manager of Coriolanus. Can you explain to people what that involved?
I was the deputy stage manager. So at the John Marr, you have a team of 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
The stage manager, the deputy stage manager, and the stage manager. So I was the deputy stage manager. That means that I am in rehearsals the entire time with the company and the directors. And my job is to ensure the easy and excellent and high quality communication between the rehearsal room and the team that's working on that. So that's the producers, the lighting designer, the sound designer, the set, the stage management, everybody. So everybody knows what's going on at all times, because not everyone can be in the rehearsal room at the same time, obviously. And then,
you tell people when to come on stage, go off stage.
yeah,
So I just posted to Instagram you giving the 15-minute call.
that's right.
What does that mean?
So the 15-minute call is actually, it means 15 minutes until beginners. And beginners is when you have to start getting ready to go on stage, which ideally will be at whatever time the show starts, as it's billed on the on the show. So I would say, ladies and gentlemen, this is your call tower call. You have 15 minutes, please. 15 minutes. And that's normally at 7:10 for a 7:30 show.
Mm-hmm.
So well, I'm late. The call's late.
I'm already overwhelmed that we've raised over £200 already. I'm going wave, 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 wave at everybody. I'm new to Instagram Live, everyone. I had a practice yesterday with the amazing playwright James Graham, who's this house was part of the NT Lives. But this is my first go, so if I get it wrong technically, you must say. Okay, cool. So what's just while we get ready for Tom to come on and start chatting to people, what's your most vivid memory of being in the rehearsal room or in the theatre for Coriolanus?
The fight, I think, is the longest standing memory. We rehearsed that in intricate detail. Like, Tom was such a perfectionist about it, and he and Hadley were just so professional and so brilliant in the way that they looked forensically at every part of the fight. And then on stage, it was really electric every night, not least because sometimes the sword would break and we would...
Sometimes the sword would break. One evening the sword broke. I'm going to get that story out of Tom later. Yeah, the sword broke.
Like 3 times. I'd have to look back, but I think 3 times.
Yeah. Nobody was hurt, but I did see it happen once, and it did a sort of, in your director's brain, it does a slow motion thing where it goes through midair. That was a thing.
It's a scary thing. It's a really scary thing. Not least because, especially in the Donmar, the audience is, 2 feet away from you,
Yeah. That's a good thing for people to remember, actually, as they watch this evening. The Donmar only seats 251 people, 20 standing. And that means nobody goes back any further than 4 rows. So one of the experiences of watching a National Theatre live, when it comes from the Donmar, actually you're pretty much in the same relationship as the audience is. Speaking as someone who has, since I directed this production, directed a couple of movies, the theatre's so small you can't get a wide, so the camera can't come far back enough, or the cameras we use, to be able to take in the whole stage. That's how close you are.
On this one we had a crane, didn't we? It was one of the first times that they used a crane that dropped in.
They did use, was that this one? Yeah, what they definitely did when you watch the fight scene between Tom and Hadley is the cameraman, we persuaded him to jump on stage and kind of get really in there and shoot it. So that was very, very cool. Ah.
Oh, it's such a nice thing to remember. It was the second show that I'd done with you, and it's Italian Sneak to the other stage managers, and Hadley.
Yeah, who will come on later to say hi.
Oh, Hadley.
Yeah, I know. And just a quick thing, Erin, I thought was really good to say. I know that our theatres are locked down at the moment, but I just think your story is really interesting for anyone who's watching, who's thinking about a career in theatre, because you moved from being a stage manager to working in the producing side of theatre, didn't you?
I did. About 5 years ago, I decided that for me, it was stage management is a very hands-on role, and it's very intimate, and there's very, very different responsibilities between the three. I mean, there's more than three roles in stage management, but particularly in sort of small repertory London theatre, there's three roles.
Yeah.
And for me, my skill set wasn't about moving up to stage manager. So fortunately, I was able to talk to someone I knew very well who gave me an opportunity to come and work with them. And so I worked in the producing office as just assistant for 5 years.
Probably felt like 5 years. Probably wasn't that. It was probably like 2 years, but it just felt that long.
And then we did the film, and we went to Broadway, and yeah, it's just been an amazing opportunity for me.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult for stage managers to get out because we have so many diverse skills and transferable skills, but it doesn't necessarily relate exactly to something else within the theatre landscape. So yeah, I'm so lucky.
There you go. So even though our theatres are closed at the moment, it's still a great place for careers when they reopen. I don't want people who are starting out or graduating to be discouraged.
Yes, exactly. Sunita will say the same later. I think you're going to talk to her, but we're really interested in seeing more diversity come into stage management. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot her a question, and we can talk to you as much as possible.
They can message you on Instagram.
Exactly.
But mainly with questions about serious careers in the theatre, not with questions about flying swords.
Well, I mean...
Well, don't know. Very good. All right, Erin, I'm going to see if I can find Tom Hiddleston. Lots of love. Great to see you. Take care. Bye.
Off.
Okay, so Erin's popping off now. I am enormously touched by people who have donated already. Thank you so much for that. That is so brilliant. Really amazing. I'm trying to see if I can, there we go. Let's see if I can find Tom on here. I think, well, my mother's watching, so that's good. I'm going to send him a request. I think that's how I do this. Sorry, this is a bit slow. So requests. Okay, I'm going to try that one more time. Let's see if you're there, Tom. If not, I'll call. So, Tom Hiddleston, if you are there, I think that this is being a bit slow and you should maybe request to join. In fact, so let's see. Yeah, okay. Apologies, everyone. Bear with us. Okay. No, can't see it. No. Okay. I think probably I'm just going to drop Tom a quick email because my laptop is open. Let's see. Can you ask to join Instagram Live? Okay, so I'm going to keep trying, and in the meantime, yeah, no, he's not there. Tom is actually here. He will be here shortly. I think this is my total incompetence at Instagram. So I think what I'm doing, and anyone tweet me if they think I'm doing this totally wrong, but I'm going into my requests. Oh, there he is. There you are. I can see how I'm going. Here we go. waiting for Tom Hiddleston. People kind of are. Ha! There you go.
Hey.
Brilliant. That was an aching pause of me being technically incompetent, for which I apologise to everyone. How are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited about watching Coriolanus. I've not seen it for a while. I nearly rewatched it, and then I was like, do you know what? I'm just gonna wait and experience it live with you.
Here we are. Listen, here we are on, hang on Instagram Live. I've never done this before. Whoops. This is rookie stuff going on here, trying to move the phone, move the camera.
Yeah, mine is balanced on so many books.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Jose.
Yeah. Tom, I'm here to tell you, look at this. Can you see this? People have already donated nearly £900. How cool is that?
I can see it. I can see at the bottom it says over £1,100 already.
Oh
no,
wow.
$1,100.
$1,100 because you're in America. Yeah. And I just posted on Twitter before, and I think we sort of both wanted to say this, that we're here to keep you company while you watch this. I'm very aware that some of you might have watched this before, so it's fun to watch along with us. At any point, feel free to mute us, or even drop out of Instagram Live. We will not be offended if the sound of me and Tom going, oh wow, remember that bit, is distracting from your enjoyment of what is ultimately Shakespeare's Coriolanus, not ours. So I think that's the thing to say. And the other thing is, we are insanely grateful for your donations, as is National Theatre, the Donmar Warehouse, and theatre in Britain. There are a lot of fantastic causes at the moment where if you've got spare money, you can give it to. So you are not obliged to give it to us. We're really grateful, but also we know that there are a lot of places your money can go right now, and it's fine if it goes there, not to us. Is that fair, Tom?
Indeed. I 100% agree. Yes.
Good.
And this, I think what the National Theatre has done with these screenings, with National Theatre at Home, is a way of keeping theatre going during lockdown, and is a very generous invitation to those who love and cherish the theatre to keep it alive, because we need to, in order for it to make it out the other side. So that's why we're here.
Yeah. And I think we're also here just to celebrate you, because you are so amazing in this amazing company and this ensemble. Yeah, come on. Well, I am anyway. I'm so we record a little post-show thing that the National Theatre will put up on YouTube, and actually, like many of Shakespeare's plays, this is one that cautions you against pride and hubris, but I have pride to an almost hubris level of the work that we did on this show, in this very small, very special theatre. So it will be cool to see everyone on screen again.
It's an extraordinary play. Thinking about it, and the idea that it was written 400 years ago, 400 odd years ago, and its long reach and its resonance is staggering, but to be expected with William Shakespeare, the greatest playwright ever, arguably.
Yeah, most people I think would argue that, and just the sheer volume of output, frankly, as much as anything else. All those amazing plays with such an infinite range. And one of the reasons I really wanted to do Coriolanus with you is that often actors tackle other big Shakespearean roles ahead of this one. So they might go, I'm going to do Hamlet first, or I'm going to give a Romeo, and actually it tends to be that people come and play Coriolanus a little bit later in their careers, whereas actually I think something that's really clear from this production is that he is an athlete, and he's the most effective and physically courageous soldier that this version of Rome has. And there was something thrilling about the athleticism of what you did and what the whole company did, because it's also a really chewy play, and it's a long play. I mean, I should think by an hour, and you'll be very grateful that Rob Hasty and I cut probably about an hour from it. But it was physically very punishing. Like, we're about to see you go through a big old adventure, physically and intellectually, I think.
Yes, it was a big challenge, and I enjoyed it. It's, you know, in fact, well, I don't know, but I've got YouTube open at the same time, so
Yeah.
like they watch along.
It says premiere will begin shortly on mine. Has everyone got YouTube open?
Right,
yeah,
that's right. Well, should we try and introduce it? How do we try? Is that?
Yeah, God, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. How are you going to do that?
Shall I do a bit and then you do a bit?
Okay.
Okay, as if like you're sitting in a theatre and we can do the program notes if anyone's interested in the program notes. Perhaps they're not. I apologise unreservedly if you're not interested in program notes before a show, because I'm about to give them, or my version of them. So this is where you can turn the sound off if you don't want to hear my introduction. Coriolanus is a play ostensibly about a soldier in ancient Rome. And he is...
Is that Bobby?
He is Rome's most courageous soldier. He is Rome's most fearsome defender. This is not the Rome of oh, we've got 2 minutes, okay.
Yeah.
This is not the Rome of Julius Caesar or Antony and Cleopatra or the later Roman Empire or many of the ideas of Rome that we have in our culture now. This is a very early city-state in the center of Italy that is under threat from other city-states that surround it. And it is, as a democracy, it is still being born. And there is such a thing as a Senate, which is a governing body who make decisions and pass laws. And there is a marketplace, a forum, I suppose, and the people. And Coriolanus, through extraordinary military courage and personal bravery, is then persuaded to stand for high office and uses that misuses or abuses that high office with the clarity of thought that he uses as a soldier, becomes a tyrant, a traitor, an enemy of the people, is banished, and has to suffer the consequences. 10 seconds to go.
Wow, have you got 10? I've got 18. I hope we're on the same. I'm going to refresh. Tom, that was so helpful. I think that's really great. And the play opens, we should probably say, with Coriolanus Caius Marcius at that point coming out to quell a protest about grain.
Yes.
So the people are taking to the streets because they don't have enough to eat. That's
true. Yeah. The Senate, I bit from memory, the Senate has...
Oh, actually, there's a good message going on now from the National Theatre about the turbulent times we're facing. So we should take a moment to reflect on that. And some of you have already donated, and thank you very much. So you can do that via Instagram, or you can do that via this prompt now, and we really appreciate it. Okay.
Well done to the Theatre.
Yeah, thank you, National Theatre, for putting this in our homes.
I think I first visited the National Theatre when I was 10 to see Wind in the Willows.
That's very cool. I just directed, which is Alan Bennett's version. I just had the great honour of directing one of Alan Bennett's talking head monologues for Nick Hytner, the London Theatre Company, and the BBC. That was one of my lockdown activities. Oh.
This is such a strange experience.
So weird. This is so weird. Yeah, I totally forgot we did that. Yeah. So I don't know if you can see this. That's a small boy
I just want to.
painting a red square.
There's our company, and I want to give them all a shout out and an enormous public tribute. Group of actors and the crew who just were tireless in the work ethic.
Yeah, amazing.
Commitment and discipline.
And also, I made them sit on stage for the whole of the first half. So, yeah.
A truly amazing group of actors who we rehearsed with for 5 weeks, and then we ran this play.
Before you proceed any further,
in Covent Garden at the Donmar in London from December the 17th, 2013 to February the 12th, 2014. 2 shows on Boxing Day, or 2 shows the day after Boxing Day. I can't remember. That's not relevant.
Well, it is if you remember it.
Yeah.
I mean, the amazing thing about these 3 actors. Sorry.
About your. Because I think it'd be really interesting for people who don't know about your. Here we are with the opening scene, and Rashenda, Mark, and Dwayne playing the citizens in protest about grain prices, and that startling opening image, and just talk about the conversations you had with Lucy Osborne, our designer, about how to create a space that was flexible enough to contain the many scenarios that take place in the play.
Yeah, that's a lovely prompt. Thank you, Tom. So Coriolanus is a massive play. It's normally done on a very, very big scale. So one of the brilliant things about these 3 actors you can see now is they're playing the whole of the Roman people who are beginning this uprising. What you saw at the start was Dwayne graffitiing on the back wall. Lucy and I looked at a lot of Roman graffiti during our process of designing the show, and we found 2 things that were great. All of this graffiti that was protest, thousands and thousands of years old, and the other thing we discovered is that in ancient Rome, and you're a classical scholar, Tom, so you'd be better at this than me, but they would paint a bit like you can see here, red up to just above eye height across the walls, because it has the effects of a color of keeping people in this continual sort of throbbing state of aliveness, really. And so we took that as a kind of gesture for the set, and that is the actual back wall of the Donmar warehouse, which is this warehouse that drops into Covent Garden. So you can't get, well, if you got through that wall, actually, you would be in the changing rooms of Diesel, which is a shop next door to the Donmar. That's as far back as it will go. So to give you a sense of proportion, that's about 6 meters from the front of the stage that the actors stood in a line at the beginning to the back wall, where they're all sat in these chairs. And really the production, the whole of this world is created from Lucy Osborne, our designer's imagination, but in the simplest possible way, with 14 chairs, a back wall, a floor, and a ladder, and some paint, and that's it. So what you're about to see, I think, is, for me as a director, one of the great shared acts of collective imagination, which is a group of actors coming together to imagine this ancient Rome and all of these worlds that they need to create. At this point, I think you were running up and down the stairs, front of house,
it's a strange
to prepare yourself.
Yes, yeah. It was because I remember being the only member of the company, not at this point in the production, who hasn't gone out on stage yet. And a strange thing of it's almost like before running a race or something. You're kind of just waiting for the gun to go off, and you know that once the starting gun goes, you're going to start running, and you're not going to stop for 3 hours. A kind of just an intensity of anticipation of just kind of trying to open your mind and limber up in, I guess, in a physical way and a mental way. Here, and there he is.
Here we go. There you are.
Very difficult to. Who is that? Yes.
Yeah, because Mark Gatiss as Menenius has just brilliantly. Wow, look at that.
Unrecognizable with the.
No, who is
with this lot.
very different Heather. So Mark Gatiss has just managed to calm everyone down, and you're coming in to do the very opposite.
Yes.
Wow. Feels like a long time ago, doesn't it?
It does.
I remember this was probably one of the scenes that we worked the hardest at. This was the hardest one to crack, I think.
This scene?
Yeah. Just to get, do you remember we started in rehearsals with you being on stage and then we realized you needed to be off and to come on with that energy and.
It's a very interesting introduction to any role in Shakespeare, because the first introduction is he's come out to speak to the people in the middle of a protest and to debate with them about the integrity of their argument, and it's all bound up with his idea of what service is. It's very strange because it's an introduction to Marcius's absolute and inflexible honesty, that there's something about him that cannot lie, and there's a perverse integrity to it, even though he is accusing the people of being fickle and changeable in their affections and loyalties.
Yeah.
I always found it a fascinating couplet when he says, "With every minute you do change a mind, and call him noble who was now your hate, him vile that was your garland." This idea that the people don't, in his mind, they don't adhere to one opinion. They aren't constant in their loyalties.
Yeah.
And I think it introduces you to the idea that this is a play about democracy and the relationship between the people and their leaders. And specifically in the next moment, Peter de Josie, who plays Cominius, or maybe perhaps it's Alfie Enoch, who plays Titus Lartius, talks about the election of two tribunes of the people. And I think Shakespeare took this story from source material in the ancient texts, in Plutarch and in Livy. And the people's tribunes were essentially elected representatives who sat in the Senate with a patrician class to represent the wishes of the people. So it's the beginning of a representation of the people's interests in a body of governance.
And here are those tribunes now. If we're lucky, we might see Elliot Levy here on the left later with the biggest lockdown beard I've seen. I know that's a large claim, but yeah, if we're lucky, we're going to see a huge lockdown beard. So they are playing the tribunes, whom you mentioned.
And Helen Schlesinger.
Who Helen does not have a lockdown beard, as far as we're aware.
No. Helen Schlesinger playing a part normally played, we're saying, by a man, or written for a man.
Yes, it's actually, do you know, it's worth saying this. It's interesting to think how much in the short space of time that I was artistic director of the Donmar, so from kind of 2014 to, I stopped being artistic director about a year ago. A couple of critics grumbled about the fact that that part was regendered, and that just wouldn't happen now. I think people just take that in their stride and accept it on the whole. You know, it's interesting to think how quickly we move and progress, and things that upset people actually just become, in the great imaginative world of theatre, absorbed. It was considered by some people controversial
Change
at the time.
is possible. Change is possible.
It is. So here we are now in the Volscian Senate, which is pretty poorly attended. It would appear that there's the brilliant Hadley Fraser playing your nemesis.
It's also a peculiar thing. I think Shakespeare was curious about this too, that he finds in probably in his sources, is this idea of two people on different sides with such an intensity of mutual obsession that they almost become sort of twinned or conjoined spiritually.
Yeah.
You know, I think Orpheus and Marcius understand more about each other than they understand about anyone else.
Yeah.
In some peculiar, perverse military standoff.
Yeah. It's like, I sometimes think it's like there's really, you know, there's kind of cool, slightly early noughties car adverts where it's just two identical cars driving at each other, like through the Highlands or something.
Yes.
It's that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And here's the amazing Big Idiot Sørensen, who plays your missus,
Virginia.
and the legendary Deborah Findlay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, the great Deborah Findlay playing Volumnia, Marcius's mother, and so for me, this was one of the reasons I never forget when we first sat down for a cup of coffee to talk about this, probably 8 or 9 months before we started. I don't know, maybe a year before we started.
Might have been. Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
When I went away and read it very, very kind of closely, and this relationship between mother and son, I had because I hadn't read it before. I'd read a lot of Shakespeare when I was training, and I'd seen a lot of it because I was always curious about it and had loved it as an audience member, but I'd never read this. And this relationship between mother and son, I can't think of another relationship in his plays which presents this bond in such a complex way as this. Which is that Marcius is ferocious, fearless, almost indestructible. He has just an extraordinary power.
Yeah.
And nobody can persuade him, nobody can defeat him. Very few can touch him or even, you know, bend his ear. But his mother seems to be the source of it all. His mother seems to be the location of all his bravery, all his courage, all his overachievement, all his pride, his integrity, his honesty, his physical power, and it is kind of an amazing insight into this bond, you know, that Rashenda Sandal, who plays the first citizen, we were speaking over it, but in the first scene, one of the first things you hear in this play is he did it to please his mother. So already implanted in your mind is Marcius is somebody who's done some very extraordinary things, some very brave things, almost sacrificial things for the city of Rome. Why has he done it? Has he done it for the city of Rome, or has he done it simply to please his mother? Has he done it to make her proud? And in this scene, you know, you see Deborah introduce this idea that the blood he sheds for the city is something she takes delight in, which is sort of almost perverse. For a mother to take delight in her son's wounds, in his pain, in his physical pain.
and to show him off,
Yeah.
to go, look, my son's better than your son.
Because he has 27, I believe it's 27 scars on his body.
Yeah.
And the more scars he has, the more proud she is.
Yeah. Tom,
Tough love.
I know, tough love. While you reflect on Mothers and Sons, I might drop you out for a moment because Jackie Boson, who's in this scene, wants to say a quick hi. Can I?
Let Jackie jump in.
Jackie, jump in. But stay watching because you'll jump back on after that if that's okay.
Yep.
Jackie, I hope you're ready. If not, I'll come back to you, Tom.
Okay. So what do I do? I just.
I'm gonna drop you. I don't need to say that personally, but just then re-invite yourself and I'll let you back in.
Before I go, I just want to say a quick thank you to everyone who is tuning into this and or watching online or even remotely interested in what we did and how we did it, and are so grateful that you're interested and following and for your support. So thank you.
Okay, see you in a sec. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, let's see if I can do this, Jackie. It's a little bit, apologies everyone, letting people back in is a bit complicated. I think one of the things that might help is if you weren't in the instruction of Coriolanus, you don't request to join. Jackie, are you there? No, I can't see you. Okay, who I can see while we wait for Jackie is Elliot Levy, who plays on the Tribune. So I'm going to see if I can get Elliot and his massive beard. Let's try that. Is that going to work? Waiting for Elliot Levy connecting. Elliot, let's see the beard.
Hang on, I'm not Jackie.
No, I know, but I can't find Jackie Boatson.
Hey, listen, it's good, isn't it?
You know what? It's not bad actually. It's that weird. Yeah, sorry, you go.
No, sorry. I've got
Is that
sorry,
what?
I've got lots of family running around and dogs and things. I haven't seen it since I was on stage, and it's really good seeing what the faces do, because when you're sat at the back, you hear the voices and see the backs of heads. It's very good. Well done.
Thank you very much, Elliot. Thank you for your excellent performance. You and Helen were just so brilliant. And I think what Tom was saying earlier about the fact that there's this relatively small company of actors carrying the whole of Rome with them is absolutely true. I'm talking to you, but at the same time, I can't get over the beard.
I know, I'm slightly distracted by it as well. And it's difficult because I really want to watch it. My brain's gone to jelly, and it might be lockdown, but it's quite a good story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great story. And 2014, yeah, definitely. Like, if this is no fun for you, this watch along, mute us and just watch the thing. And also, it's there for a week, so all of that.
Pablo thinks it's great too. I mean,
Pablo's into it. That's good.
Pablo's into it. It's for all the family. I genuinely don't know what scene comes after what scene. It's like
me either, and I directed it. Oh, hang on. Tommy's now doing the Battle of Coriolanus. Oh my God, those fireworks that we had. Okay, fine. I'm going to grab Tom back so he can talk to us about fighting people. Might see you later.
Slowly getting drunk. I'll see you later.
Great. I'm going to open some wine in a bit. Okay, bye.
Bye,
Tom
everyone.
Hiddleston, come back. Remove Elliot. See, I'm getting the hang of this, everyone. Sorry, Jackie, to miss you. We'll pull you in later. Tom, are you able to jump back in? Otherwise, it will just be me talking about my own production of Coriolanus, which is potentially of interest to... Oh, there you are. I'm going to go live with Tom Hiddleston. Add. Look at this. We've raised £3,000.
Hi.
Hiya. Look, that's you going up the ladder.
Yes.
This is us doing the Siege of Coriolanus with 14 chairs and a ladder and some amazing acting. Tom, tell us what happened when you went up that ladder.
So during this scene that we're watching Alfie Enoch give an extraordinary monologue, thinking that Marcius is dead. I've gone up a ladder. The Donmar is a very small theatre. It used to be a banana ripening warehouse. I would imagine all of the space that they used to change the warehouse from banana ripening to being a theatrical space is playing space. So I climb up this ladder and I climb into the lighting rig. And then I crawl along the lighting rig on my hands and knees then down 2 fire escape ladders, and then I stand in a paddling pool and stand like a mannequin while my armor is taken off by 4 amazing crew, and then I get doused in blood, and here I am.
Are you here? I was slightly worried that I made this entrance look like an 80s pop video. What you're about, and here's Peter de Josie vamping brilliantly while you're getting down. I mean, vamping, he's speaking Shakespeare, but I was talking to Rob Hasty earlier, who is now the artist. Oh, here you are. Look at that. Should have put Belinda Carlisle on, really.
I would have started.
It looked great. It looked great. Honestly, it did look great. Sorry. Look at
what's interesting in remembering it is it was such backstage. It was such a mad journey because I had to unclip myself from a harness for health and safety.
Because you clipped on to climb up the ladder, right?
On to climb up, and it wasn't like I was being pulled up, but in case I ever slipped and fell, the harness would have caught me. Would have been a very strange scene. And then so I had to unclip myself from the harness, and then to then scamper down these 2 fire escape ladders and literally stand in a paddling pool while my armor was taken off and the buckles were taken off, and then doused in blood. And sometimes
what that story is that he goes alone into Coriolanus. They lock the gates on him. Everyone thinks he's dead, and you need to emerge as if you were single-handedly taking the city of Coriolanus. So we need to create a moment where we believe that you'd gone into the city, forced the gates open, and the Roman army can now go in and sack it. So
bonkers.
It's like, I mean, insane. And also, you know, I don't know if it's helpful or not to have to do all that crazy stuff in order to then get back in again to make you feel like you have just sacked the city of Coriolanus. But
it's definitely very intense. It felt very
okay. Now look, here's this fight. Now this fight probably had more rehearsal than anything else because it's so famous, so long, and so technical, and such a piece of choreography. You were both amazing in this. Erin was saying before, she just popped on before you came on, our stage manager, that it was a really important thing that you ran this every day, and her big recollection really is, you know, making this safe. She also mentioned that the sword snapped and flew off, not in this moment that you'll see here, but we had some snappy swords.
Before every performance, we rehearsed this fight, and we basically had 3 or 4 runs at it, and the first one was always walking through the moves, and then the second one was at 40%, the third one was at 80%, and sometimes we did a 4th one at sort of 90%. So just to make sure that the muscle memory was absolutely up to date, almost like you do a kind of mental software update every single day to make sure that you know where the other person's going to be.
Oh, it's gone hand to hand. I mean, I think that's like a really important thing to say about this, which is when you do something like this on film or on telly, not on the stage as it is here, you do it in little bits.
Yes.
Like, okay, there's some famous fight scenes where you go, that's handheld, and, you know, Paul Greengrass followed, like, huge. But this is an unbelievably long piece of choreography to learn.
Well, it is choreography. It's like a kind of a dance or anything that's choreographed, really. And it takes. You have to trust each other. And Hadley and I, you know, we worked on this for 3 months.
Yeah.
Before we started.
With the amazing Richard Ryan, fight choreographer.
Who is an amazing fight choreographer. And
he came and did Mary Queen of Scots, actually, when I did my first movie. He did the fights on that. It was brilliant.
And the extra challenge of doing it in a theatre that's on 3 sides, like a courtyard or a kind of a horseshoe with edges, and that changes your relationship to angles as well, because you can't if you can't fake the distance,
Yeah.
And actually, Hadley and I had to be incredibly close to each other and trust that the other person knew that the next blow was coming and to get out of the way. And that's about rehearsal, that's about practice, that's about eye contact. In fact, it's always about eye contact. If you keep looking at each other, you'll always be able to respond quickly.
Yeah, there's kind of an okay, isn't there? There's like an okay before I do. I mean, it happens at lightning speed, but you check before you go.
Yeah. But my memory of it is it creates an extraordinary, it's sort of an extraordinary, unique, unmanufacturable intensity of alertness and focus and attention. Every single night.
And intimacy, actually, with someone that you're going to be intimate with later in the play.
I was partially relieved when it was over. Like a part of me went, okay, that's the fight done, and I have neither Hadley nor I are injured.
Yeah.
And it was a good one, you know.
Yeah.
At one point, you know, he throws me over his shoulder, and it's you know, I was young once.
Oh, stop it! I mean, so you know that Hadley and I have done a lot of plays together. So just before this, we'd worked together for the first time. He played Gary Kasparov in a brilliant play about Kasparov losing to Deep Blue. And we did this show together, but Hadley is very famous for being one of the greatest singers in the whole of theatre.
Yeah.
And we did a musical together at Donmar called City of Angels, which we were actually about 5 days from opening before we locked down. So the set, the costumes, the wigs, the props are all sat in the Garrick Theatre. But Hadley has to, as part of the choreography at the start of that, a bit like this, do a really big jump.
Right.
And there is something really interesting about coming back to something 5 or 6 years later and having to perform a jump when you were a bit younger. I mean, he obviously nailed it, but we did have many laughs about time past. Yeah. My YouTube is buffering because my internet's not being. Where are we at, Tom? Because I've slightly.
So Cominius, a great Roman general played by Pete. Peter de Josie has just given Marcius his new name, Caius Marcius Coriolanus. He sacked the city of Coriolis on his own, and he now has a name which sits in addition to his given name.
Yeah.
And he's being feted and celebrated in a way that makes him uncomfortable. And it's a strange presentation. It's a remarkable presentation of his immediate humility, which I think is real in the face of having done something very brave. Which is that he doesn't want gifts or reward. He doesn't take any satisfaction or fulfillment in reward for his deeds.
Yeah.
He refuses.
So a question for you, because like the reason that his mother is so obsessed with him getting all these wounds and being this perfect soldier and doing what he's just done, which is an amazing act of famous courage, is so he can progress politically. And he's interested in fighting, isn't he? And he's interested in being part of the army. But do you think he's interested in power? Because that's what his mum wants him to get.
I don't know that he's ever thought about. I don't know that. One of Marcius's great flaws is the incapacity for self-reflection.
Yeah.
He doesn't think. Doesn't stop to think.
Yeah, I think that's very true.
About consequence. He doesn't stop to think about the consequence of his words, really, or his actions. He simply acts, and that is what gives him his power, because he acts without fear.
Yeah. No, I am still sadly buffering. Where are we at?
We are under a shower.
Aha. So, this, for me, I think, I'm going to say something that's a bit pretentious, but it's kind of a soliloquy for his physical presence and for his body in a play that's poetically obsessed with his body. So everybody wants a piece of him, either as this amazing soldier or because his mother wants him to bear these scars, as does her friend, so he can become politically powerful. And I was always very moved by the idea that you would get to see the cost of that and the pain of that, and what it's like to have actually obtained all of these wounds, have to receive this honor and this adulation that you don't want from the other soldiers and take it on, and then to give him a moment alone when you see that.
I think somewhere in the play there's a discomfort with the idealization, which is expressed in that previous scene, where they are fating him and they're chanting his name, and he says, "I pray you no more." I have done as you have done, that's what I can. Yeah. Induced as you have been, that's for my country. He's trying to say, all I've done is what I said I would do. I don't need anything. There's some pleasure for him or some fulfillment in the act of doing, not in the reward or consequence of doing.
Yeah.
Which I think is perhaps a very physical thing.
Yeah, I think he lives in the physical, doesn't he? What is it when he says his heart's his mouth?
His heart's his mouth, what his breast forges, that his tongue must vent. And what I understand is that I think that he's been brought up to be honest and to be true to himself, true to his nature by his mother. And now he's entering a phase in his life where, in order to please the people whose approval he needs, he has to be false to his nature. He has to say things he doesn't believe. And
yeah, it's a great bit of score by Michael Bruce just there, actually, from the same place as you, where we go back into City of Rome, and there's just something brilliant about it because you can feel his fate building. It's a brilliant score in that sense. It's just this piece of music that goes, what's coming up is really the body of the play after this victory. This is the act, as it might be in a lot of tragedies. This thing that seems great, this second Coriolanus, this is the thing that's going to propel him into his trajectory, where he becomes this tragic figure. I would say hero, but
hero. Yeah. A tragic figure, an anti-hero, a man who is brought down by his weaknesses, which are connected to his strengths. It's a peculiar it's a very interesting presentation of a man who has such who initially is presented as having such physical courage, such selfless bravery, which is curdled into arrogance, pride, contempt, entitlement, superiority, and is somehow that somehow becomes insoluble. That the gravity of whatever that center is, which is where his strength and his arrogance comes from, is somehow becomes something that is hard, that is impossible to reach or touch or soften, and he becomes more and more obstinate, more and more inflexible, and more self-possessed as the play goes on, in a way that's very troubling and very dangerous.
There's a scene happening now with Menenius and the two tribunes, and the subtlety with which these actors reflected the political tension between these classes.
Yes.
I just thought was so wonderful. These scenes were a real joy to explore with these three actors, because they're all in their own very specific way extremely witty and
Yes.
and understand and love playing politics in a brilliant way.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I remember
there's your mother thrilled.
we shared a very, anyone who's been backstage at the Donmar may know this, or people, those who haven't. There are only 2 dressing rooms, and they're quite small, and it fosters this amazing atmosphere between the actors, because there's no sense of separation. Everybody gets ready together. Nobody has a huge amount.
There's no star dressing room or
no one has a huge amount of personal space.
They're infested with mice. I mean, we try and deal with that on a regular basis, but you're in the centre of a Covent Garden, so it's not glamorous, definitely.
But we all talked about it. Everybody I was in the dressing room with, and Mark and Elliot in this scene. We used to talk about every night we would all discover some new seam of political discourse about the play, that its complexity about how a society is ably governed, and that Shakespeare presents so many different sides of the argument, and Menenius, which I think is a truly great part, which Mark Gatiss is playing, is somebody who has dedicated his life to political service. I think has a genuine love for the city and for the people of Rome, but also has a perhaps familiar mercurial quality of changing the rhetoric or changing the tune in order to suit the mood of the time, which I think.
Yeah. Here is Peter de Josie doing an amazing speech in Coriolanus's Caius Marcius's praise. I think there's something very touching about your relationship between you and your general. I was always very moved by what you and Pete found there, I think.
Yes. He's being, every time he's feted, every time Marcius is publicly celebrated, it causes him a kind of pain. He's no more of this, it does offend my heart. Is that modesty? Is that false modesty? Is that a performative modesty? Or does it genuinely offend his heart? Does he not want? Is he
resistant? I'm just asking who we're speaking about. So you're speaking about Caius Marcius at the moment, but I was talking about Peter de Josie's character, Cominius, who's your general, who just spoke a short speech in your praise at the top of this scene, and will go on speak a much longer one. Sorry, Tom.
No, I'm just thinking about this idea of what always fascinated me in the playing of it every night was his natural desire for achievement, and specifically for military conflict. And then in the aftermath, distancing himself from being celebrated for that achievement. And how peculiar that seemed to this particular character.
I think one thing she'd do brilliantly here is play a growing discomfort with what you know is coming. So you know that you're going to be asked to be consul. That's your mother's plan. That's Menenius's plan. And what you did, a bit like a kind of someone playing a really good poker player, is peppered throughout that performance, and people just saw that at these little sort of tells, these little twitches of discomfort, and what sits underneath them is the idea that you're going to now have to do something you don't want to do. You'd much rather go back and probably attack Coriolanus again, than have to go into the Senate and be this politician. One of the things